Hello, and welcome back to Crash Course History,
where I'm Rakaya.
And I'm Swathi. Today we're going to be talking about the Aztec worldview before and after the Spanish
Killed them.
For our question, we decided to explore how the Aztecs lived before the Spanish conquered them and after, while also looking at the factors that may have affected this. The story starts in the early 1300s when some nomads had a vision from their god Huitzilopochtli to settle down if they found an eagle with a snake in its mouth sitting on a cactus. They finally found it on a random island and made it home. Although it was a small island, they transformed it into a beautiful city for them to live in called Tenochtitlan. They faced many problems because the island was surrounded by lots of water and tall mountains, but rather than thinking of these as problems, they used them to benefit them. Some examples are chinampas, gardens built on top of water, and their aqueducts helped them drain the water that had flooded because of the surrounding mountains. The place they lived in also affected them politically, with wars and attacks, because it made it harder for other people to attack them since they were in the middle of water. The Aztecs also had a deep belief in gods, and almost everything in their life relied on these gods. This resulted in them having an interesting way of sacrificing people many times a week to please their gods, and they believed that this would prevent the fourth world from ending. The Aztecs also had a strict social hierarchy. However, you could change your position considering on specific challenges. To sum it up, the Aztecs thought everything was going well for them because their gods were protecting them and helping them have a better life. They had lots of land and resources and had a good social system. Their worldview showed that they had a sustainable way of living and were having a hard-working but happy life. But soon, everything changed for the worse.
The Aztec Empire was slowly getting conquered by the Spanish. There are a few minor factors that affected the downfall of this civilization. First of all, the capture of Moctezuma. When Moctezuma welcomed the Spanish men, Cortez's men, into the Tenochtitlan, he thought they were descendants of the god Quetzalcoatl. Unfortunately, this wasn't true, which led Moctezuma getting captured into the arms of the Spanish. The Aztecs now had no leader and less power, so they needed to get their leader back. This resulted them into revolting against the Spanish. Within this chaos, Moctezuma died, which led to the Aztecs turning weaker. The second idea that led to the fall of Tenochtitlan is smallpox. When the Spanish came to Tenochtitlan, they brought many diseases that the Aztecs weren't immune to. This killed almost 80% of the Aztec population. The third reason leading to the downfall of Aztecs was the Eight Omens. The Eight Omens, which the Aztecs believed wiped out their population, were the two-headed monster, fire comet, silent lightning, fire rain, weeping woman, crane with obsidian mirror on its head, fire, and boiling lake. The Aztecs believed that these Eight Omens impacted the ruins of the Aztecs. These were allegedly slowly breaking down Tenochtitlan. The last and the main concept that contributed to the collapse of the Aztec Empire was the siege of Tenochtitlan. The Spanish made their way to the empire and intensely fought. A big advantage that the Spanish had was their advanced weapon and resources. This resulted in them winning this war in 1521, which allowed them to gain land and many resources while also getting Aztec slaves. The Aztec identity was changed, and Tenochtitlan was turned into New Spain. Spanish settlers were given land and Aztec workers who did free labor. The settlers were supposed to teach these Aztecs Christianity in return for their labor. These Aztecs were given rights. They were protected by the Spanish and had the right to learn Christianity. The Aztec children were forced to go to school almost like residential schools, where the rest of the religion was destroyed. Also, the children had to demolish their religious temples where they worshipped their gods and conducted sacrifices. The Spanish enforced marriage laws. These laws stated that the Aztec women had to marry Spanish men. This changed the focus from gold and land to marriage. It also helped increase the population with mixed children who were born into a Spanish worldview. The consequences of not having a wife within 6 months of the enforcement of this marriage law was getting your land taken away. After this, the Aztecs' worldview changed. They had a new perspective. They lost faith and belief in the Aztecs' god because they did so much sacrifices yet still had to suffer terribly. They also had no resources left and only to use the Spanish resources. Their social system was also broken as they were treated as slaves or peasants who weren't paid for their labor. Soon led to the extinction of the Aztec population. Although some kids and people were mixed between Spanish and the Aztecs, there were still no Aztec people left, and their culture and religion had been fully wiped out.
Before the Spanish conquered the Aztecs greatly believed in their gods and relied on them for everything.
After, the
Aztecs
lost belief as a consequence of the massive battle and losing their dignity.
Before, the Aztecs had a beautiful city that they created by working together. They also had massive temples where they practiced their religion.
After all, the land was changed into Spanish property and the temples were destroyed.
Before, they all had positions in society where emperors were on top and slaves were on the bottom.
After, everyone was a slave to the Spanish and they didn't actually have rights.
Now let's quickly dive into a super speed artifact reveal. The mask of Tezcatlipoca was an ancient Aztec mask made out of deer skin, turquoise, and human skull. To begin, let's talk a little bit about the god that this was based off of. Tezcatlipoca was one of the main Aztec deities, along with the other three, Quetzalcoatl, Huitzilopochtli, and Xipe-Totec. Tezcatlipoca also had a nickname as a smoking mirror because it showed his character of reflection and how he could see into human hearts. Finally, he was connected to jaguars because he could turn into one. Another thing is that he was surrounded by ideas of revenge, dark magic, sorcery, judgment, and war. Now let's explore the details of the mask. This mask had a base that was painted black. This represented night and darkness. This mask also had feathers on it which associated with heaven. This mask mainly relates to the element of belief, because it was worn during rituals and also worn to protect yourself from evil spirits. They also believed that people who wore the mask would be connected to Tezcatlipoca's energy. It also relates to values because it was deeply valued in Aztec society. These were very rare as there were only 10 sent to them each year from Oaxaca. This mask also helps us understand that the Aztecs valued balance. They may have had some gods that impacted their life in more positive ways, but this god surrounded darkness. He was also related to the land of dead. People who are high in society and deeply connected to religions like priests would wear this mask. Art repatriation is when something is restored to the place it came from or where it belongs. Personally, I think this mask should be repatriated as it should be able to be accessed by the people of its own religion and culture. People should be able to connect to the past of their own faith before involvement. Unfortunately, this mask has not been repatriated yet, as it sits in the British Museum.
Thank you for watching our video.
If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to subscribe and smash that like